bothers me. He's been bothering me for years. And he's actually moved me a little bit, if I'm willing to admit it. He harassed me years ago, how come I don't learn 3 Perakim Rambam? I'm a bad chassid because I was learning 1 Perek. I was learning 1 Perek because I actually wanted to learn it. Now I'm actually now learning 3 Perakim, so he stopped bothering me about that. So I got a message in the middle of the night. Listen, today we're finishing Sefer Mada. You have to speak tomorrow morning about the Rambam of today. So my answer to him was, if you want me to speak about the Rambam, don't tell me to, because the minute you tell me to do it, I got to do the opposite. But I actually learned Rambam. I never do this. I finished today's Rambam, which is, for me, unheard of. Yeah, Hilchas Tshuva Perek Yud and Hilchas Kriya Shema Perek Aleph Beis. I learned the Rambam for this morning. It's one of the things I did before I got here today. And the first of the 3 Perakim of today's Rambam is very interesting. Huh? I'm not spoiling it, I promise you. The Rambam wrote a book that includes the whole Torah. That's what he says himself. He wrote a sefer that includes the whole Torah. Included in the whole Torah, of course, are all the mitzvahs of the Torah. But in addition to the Rambam's book, including all the mitzvahs of the Torah, the Rambam also includes the Yud Gimel Ikar, the 13 principles of faith, which he wrote. The Rambam is the source of the Yud Gimel Ikar Ha'emunah. He didn't make them up, but he wrote them down. The Rambam wrote on the 13 principles of faith. And years ago, it was talking the year of COVID, I gave a series of classes here in Achei, in the Yud Gimel Ikar. I said 5 years ago. Amongst the 13 principles of faith, young man, you have to turn around and face me. You have to turn around and face me. Which means don't talk to him. That's the Rashi. I can tell you Tosfos also, but we'll save that for another time. Amongst the 30 principles of faith is the principle of reward and punishment. That if you're good, you get a schar. If you're bad, chas v'shalom, you get a oynish. It's axiomatic to our belief, to Jewish belief, that first of all, and this is probably, I like to call this the 14th principle, is that we have free will. You cannot believe in Yiddishkeit unless you believe in real free will. Free will, when you learn Chassidus, becomes incredibly complicated. But whether it is complicated or it's not complicated, it's a religious necessity. If you're a religious person, you believe in the Eibush, you have to believe that that people have free will. And we have free will, that's number 1. Hashem knows everything we're doing, that's number 2. That doesn't sound like a big deal, but if you study philosophy, you find out that Hashem knowing what we do is a big deal. But then there's a third thing. Not only do we have free will, not only do we not know the choice that we make, number 3, he actually cares. The choices that we make matter to him in quotations. And therefore, when we do good, we're rewarded, and when we do bad, we're punished. Now, in this scheme of reward and punishment, and I'm going to generalize, I'm going to simplify, when you study Rambam, 3 ideas emerge. 2 of them were in yesterday's Rambam, and the third one is in today's Rambam. The lowest idea of free will is what I like to call pizza with extra cheese. In other words, if you'll be a good Jew, Hashem will send you health, He'll send you a beautiful family, He'll send you parnasa, He'll send you long life, He'll send you peace of mind. Right? People who do good things, they gives them a good life, Bagashmi is. Which is what the Chumash says, which the Nevi'im, it says in Chumash, if you're going to be a good Jew, it's going to rain only when it's supposed to. What's supposed to rain? It's supposed to rain late on Friday night after everyone is sleeping already, so nobody gets wet. And other such wonderful ideas. You're going to have a lot of parnasa, you're going to have a beautiful family, you're going to have peace, you're not going to worry, you're not going to be afraid. You do what I want, I'm going to give you what you want. This is what it says in Chumash. And the Rambam, this makes the Rambam very nervous. It makes the Rambam very nervous. Why? Because the Rambam is very disturbed by the idea that I put on tefillin, and for putting on tefillin, I get cookies. I put up a mezuzah, put a mezuzah, I get a nice suit. I keep Shabbos, being Shabbos, I get to eat in a good restaurant. I keep kosher, so therefore I have a wife that likes me and gets along with me, and we have a good life. Yeah? Really? That's Yiddishkeit? Yiddishkeit is cookies and a suit and a restaurant? Really? The way that Rambam describes it, introduction to Perek Chelik, is when a child does a good thing and you give them a bribe. The child thinks that the bribe is more important than the good thing that they did. They're not interested in the mitzvah, they're interested in the cookie. So the cookie is more important than the tefillin. The nice suit is more important than the mezuzah. The keeping kosher is more important. The going to the good restaurants are important than the kosher. Why? It's a means to an end. And it makes the Rambam very, very upset. I'm a little bit dramatizing, but it's not such of a drama. The Rambam is very disturbed by the idea that a Jew should walk away from Judaism thinking that why am I from? So I should have a nice life material. It's really bothering the Rambam. The problem that Rambam has that the Chumash doesn't. We didn't write the book. God wrote the book. It says in the Torah, if you're going to do mitzvahs, you're going to get a good schar. This is the first level. So this bothers the Rambam. And the way that Rambam deals with it is very interesting. The Rambam says that, to use an American cliche, God helps those who help themselves. Meaning, if you want to be a good person, Hashem is going to help you. If you want to be a bad person, I shall help you do that too. So if you decide to live a religious life, you're going to learn Torah, you're going to do mitzvahs, you're going to have a family, you're going to serve Hashem, you're going to be Makarev Nachai Yidden, which is the language of Dei Rashi. If you're going to do what the Eibishter wants, Hashem is going to give you physical things. He's going to give you food, clothing, shelter, family, peace of mind, and so on and so forth. Why? Not because this is the reward. No. The Rambam says, no, they can't be the reward. It's impossible to say that the reward for being a Jew is a cookie. Or like I called it in all those years that I taught this sugya, pizza with extra cheese. It's impossible to say the reward for Judaism is physical life. It sounds, forgive me for saying it, sounds very Islamic, if you know what I mean. The Rambam simply says that when you choose to live a good life, to learn Torah, do mitzvahs, Hashem makes it easier for you to do more Torah and mitzvahs. Why does Hashem make it easy for you to do more Torah and mitzvahs? So you should get the real reward. And the real reward is Elam Haba. So this was yesterday's Rambam. The Rambam says, really? The reward for being a Jew is cookies? The reward for being a Jew is a toy? The reward for being a Jew is a new car? The reward for being a Jew is money in the bank? That's so undignified. That's what the Eibishter does? You do tefillin, Shabbos, kosher, mikveh tefillin, and he sends you a check? Because, like I said, you're going to think that the check is more valuable than the tefillin. That's what it is? So the Rambam says, no. You do Yiddishkeit, Hashem gives you a good life, so you should do more Yiddishkeit. And the reason the Eibishter wants you to do more Yiddishkeit is because he wants you to get schar of Elam Haba. So just be clear. The first level is, you get a physical reward. Physical reward means food, clothing, shelter, peace of mind, family, all the other stuff we like, for keeping Torah mitzvahs. But the Rambam doesn't consider this really reward. He considers it a facilitation. You're trying your best to serve Hashem. Hashem is going to make it easier for you. You should be able to do more Torah, do more mitzvahs, in quotes, Kadesh, Yiskel, Lachaya, El Maboishav Elamah. So the first layer of schar is cookies, pizza with extra cheese. What's the second layer? The second layer is Elam Haba. This is also yesterday's Rambam, where the Rambam is explaining to us what Elam Haba means, what the world to come means. And basically, the Rambam says the reward of Elam Haba you can't appreciate until you get there. It's impossible to appreciate the reward we're going to have in Elam Haba to get to Elam Haba. You know what Elam Haba is going to be? We're going to live forever. And all we're going to do all day and all night, if there'll be a concept of time, is be involved with the Eibishter. We'll know God. We'll be involved in understanding the Eibishter. In the Rambam's language, it's Ladas as Hashem, to know God. In the language of Chassidus, it's to experience godliness, right? And some guys are going to say, excuse me, I find that boring. It doesn't interest me. I'd much rather follow a ball game than know the greatness of the Eibishter. So the Rambam says, when you'll get there, you'll appreciate it. When you get to Elam Haba, you'll see that knowing Hashem, being involved with the Eibush of the greatest, Hashem is Ein Seif. And in Elam Haba, we're going to be experiencing the Ein Seif. This is the second Madrega of Schad, the second. And the Rambam says this is real reward. The first level is that your reward is physical things. The second level of reward is Ruchni, is the good thing. This is real reward. Then comes today's Rambam, the last Perek of Hilchas Tshuva, the last Perek of Hilchas, Sefer Hamada, where the Rambam says, you know something? If you're a mensch, you will not think about reward at all. Not about food, not about pizza with extra cheese, not even at Elam Haba. You know why you learn how to do mitzvahs? Because you love God, because it's the truth. And this becomes the third layer. If the first layer of doing mitzvahs is because you want to have nice things physically, and the second layer of doing mitzvahs is Kedei sheyiske l'chaya el b'bayit should merit to the world to come, the third level of doing mitzvahs is because you have a love for HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And the Rambam actually says, I want to explain to you what love means. And he describes it from the love that exists between people. Forgive me for saying it, between a man and a woman. That you love somebody so much that you ache, you're choilas ava, you're sick from love. You're supposed to love the Eibishter so much. And if you love the Eibishter, you're going to learn Torah and do mitzvahs, not for physical reward, not for spiritual reward, but lishma. Lishma. Just for the sake of Avodas Hashem. And he brings the famous Mishnayos in Masechta Avos that we all know. Al tiyu kavodim ha-misham she'esarav ha-manas l'kav ha-pras. Do not be like a servant who serves a master for the purpose of receiving reward. Ella, but instead, havoi kavodim ha-misham she'esarav. You should be like servants who are serving a master. Shalaya masaka. You shouldn't think about schar. You just serve the Eibishter. And then, of course, the Rambam writes, if you serve Hashem just for the sake of the Eibishter, you're not thinking about the reward, but the reward is going to come anyway. So the Rambam gives you three madregas. The first level of reward is physical. The second level of reward is ideal. The third level, I'm not thinking about reward, I just want to have a relationship with the Eibishter. Why am I starting the Shia today, besides for the fact that this guy guilted me into doing it? Why am I starting the Shia with this? I am starting to share with this because it's basic to all of us. I mean, there's Baruch Hashem, a lot of people in this room, right? There's Baruch Hashem, a lot of people who are supposed to be in this room that are here Beruchnias, but there's Baruch Hashem, a lot of people here Begashmias, yes, in this room. And I would say that for the most part, I can't speak for everybody, I don't know everybody. For the most part, you believe in the Eibishter. Believe in Hashem. We're from people. You know, we look at ourselves, we say, we're Chabad light, we're Chabad middleweight, we're featherweight, I don't know what the levels are, yeah? But if we knew how other people live, we're big tzaddikim. I mean, we're very, as low as our standard of Yiddishkeit is, it's incredibly high, compared to Atzveiten. We all believe in God. Believing in God is not a big deal. Or when I was growing up, they used to say, most Americans believe in God. They did surveys. I would say 85-90% of Americans believe in God. I'm not talking about Jews. Americans believe in God. You see?
That's because it's on the dollar.
Huh?
Because it says it's on the dollar.
Because it's on the dollar. They don't know how to read. They don't know how to read. They believe in God. It's too, the bright type is too small.
The Greek part.
But the issue of believing in God is half the story. It's the easy half. The hard part is having a relationship with God. And having a relationship with God is very tricky. Why? You can't see Him. He's in the shadows. He doesn't have conversations with you. He doesn't guilt you. He doesn't threaten you, right? He wrote stuff in books. They were written thousands of years ago. You better do this or else. You better do that or else. But we don't even know how to read Hebrew, so we don't know what the books say. Yeah. But to have a relationship with Hashem is much more difficult and much more important. So the Hashem exists. But our job is not that Hashem exists. Hashem should be my king. This is... You wake up in the morning, your alarm sounds at 6 o'clock. Are you going to hit snooze or are you going to get out of bed? Part of that question is, am I a servant of Hashem or not? If I'm a servant of the Eibishter, and the Eibishter wants me to get up, like it says in the first line of the Kitzur Shulchan Aruch, you should get up like a lion. You know, the Eibush just stands over your bed. I remember the Rebbe once said it by Fabregan. Before you open your eyes, Hashem comes and He stands at the head of your bed and He waits and watches to see what you're going to do when you open your eyes. Are you going to roll over and go back to sleep? The Pashat spelled it out. He comes before you wake up and He sits and waits. Let me see what's going to happen. Now, depending on how much of a servant of the Eibush that you are, you either hit snooze, you turn the alarm off altogether, you roll over and go back to sleep, or you jump out of bed. Every day is supposed to get up like a lion. See, that's not believing in God. That's having a relationship with the Eibush. And the highest relationship with the Eibush, according to the Rambam, is when you love Him. According to Chassidus, there's an even higher level, which is called Yirei Law, which l'chayda the Rambam doesn't have. But the highest level of relationship with the Eibush you could possibly have is if you love. You love the Eibush, you want to do what He wants to do. In the Siddur, we're learning, we're calling Him a king. A king, a melech, a king. Now, the relationship between subjects and a king is an interesting relationship. According to Torah, now, I'm not talking about the way the word king is used in the world, which has no meaning. We're talking about the way the word king is used in Torah. The way the word king is used in Torah, there's a very important foundational idea about kings, which we've spoken about in the last few weeks as we're learning this Hashem Melech, Hashem Melech, Hashem Melech, over and over and over again. And that is, to use the quote from the Siddur, Umalchus Eiberatzon, the definition of a king, on both sides, both from the king's end and from the people's end, is that nobody's forced. If either the king is forced to king, or the people are forced to accept the kingship, that's not a kingship, that's a dictatorship. A melech is made a king by the people. And the people accept the melech willfully. That's the criteria of melchus. Like we say in Maidiv. It's axiomatic, it's foundational to a king-subject relationship that is willful. You want to mashal the relationship between a chassid and a rebbe, you're Lubavitchers. You were born way after Gimel Tammuz. A lot of your fathers never saw the rebbe, or at least have very young child memories of the rebbe, which is, to me, overwhelming. It's beyond my fathoming. Although I have children like this, who are now raising children of their own in this Maimed Matzah, but I grew up at the rebbe's feet. And a relationship with the rebbe is very weird. Why? Because we have very little in common with him. I mean, the Rebbe, what world does he live in? And what world do we live in? You know, the Rebbe's world. The Rebbe's holiness. The Rebbe's Avodas Hashem. And the Rebbe's Chochmah. The Rebbe, yeah. And yet, he's our Rebbe and we're his chassid. Translate. He willfully agreed to shepherd zlobs like us. And we willfully agreed to follow his lead. That's the foundation of a melech. It's willful. It's berotz. Who say berotz and kim. And if it's willful, then it's a real relationship. Or to use the language of the Rambam from today's Rambam, it's ahava, it's love. The chassid Rebbe relationship is a weird relationship. Because the distance between a chassid and a Rebbe is impossible to even understand, let alone to... Not only you can't close to a Rebbe, you don't even know what a Rebbe means. We have no concept of how far away from us a Rebbe is. I had a Yid that I knew very in passing, who's now passed away. He was a beautiful Jew. His name was Rabbi Greenwald, Tzvi Greenwald from Kfar Chabad. So he was married to a woman whose father was a Rebbe. A Polish Rebbe. Huh? No, I don't know which. And his father-in-law, this Rebbe, who was the father of his wife, lived in Crown Heights for many years in the late 40s, early 50s. Why? Because his father was the Rebbe in Yerushalayim, his grandfather, in other words. And they used to have a soup kitchen. They gave away food to people. And in the 40s and the 50s, a lot of people were very poor in Yerushalayim. And they were pushed feeding people. So the son, who later became the Rebbe, was living in New York as a fundraiser. He lived here. And he used to raise money and send the money to his father. And that's how they did. They ran their mitzvahs, their charity. So he lived like Utica Avenue and President Street, lived someplace in Crown Heights for many, many years. And when the Rebbe became Rebbe, he started going into the Rebbe. He became very close to the Rebbe. And he used to laugh and say, there's a lot of different types of tzaddik nistas, a hidden tzaddikim, you know. One person is a tzaddik nista because he's a shoemaker. Another person is a tzaddik nista because he's a tailor. Another person is tzaddik nisted because he's a shnorer. And the Lubavitcher Rebbe is a tzaddik nisted, and his cover is that he's a Rebbe. He's hiding behind the secret of the Rebbe is the Rebbe. But what the Rebbe is Shalom. In other words, the Rebbe that you see and the Rebbe that is, we have no concept. His mask is that he's a Rebbe. So we have, and yet there is a relationship. And Klayachol, this is the relationship with Eibush. It's Tzadikim Deimim Labeiram. Hashem is our king. We're his subjects. Hashem Melech, Hashem Malach, Hashem Melech Leilavad. And the key to that relationship is Ratzon, is willfulness. He agrees to be our king. We agree to make himself our king. That relationship is predicated on Ahava. That relationship is predicated on Ahava. It's a relationship predicated on desire. Even though, what do we have in common with Eibush? Zero. Gunish. He's everything and we're nothing, and yet we have this connection. Go ahead.
Don't we have one thing in common with him that we are literally a part of him?
With the Eibishter?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, but in as much as we're a part of him, we don't exactly have free will, right? We have free will because we're separate from him, and in as much as we're separate from him. Okay, go ahead, but talk fast.
You were speaking earlier about the Rambam, the real work that we're doing, isn't it the same, like, wouldn't that be the same problem as getting physical work? Like, isn't the whole reason why we created the world is to
Dina B'tach doesn't exist in the Rambam. It says in Tanya and in Likutei Sichos.
Yeah, but
The Rambam is a different shita.
well, then what's the difference between like getting physical work and getting it's both doing mitzvahs.
The Rambam says when you'll get to Olam Haba and you'll understand what Olam Haba is, you'll understand the difference. The reward for doing mitzvahs is to be close to Hashem. That's Olam Haba, to be close to Hashem. And the Rambam considers that adequate. And then he says that even that really you shouldn't do, you should do for the sake of Ahava. Then after that he says you shouldn't even do it for Olam Haba. You should do it just for Emes. 3 steps, I told you, 3 levels, right? Gashmias, Olam Haba, and L'Shem Shamayim. Now, so we're learning Hashem Melech. Right? And I've been sitting, this is our 6th or 7th class. I am a genius at time consumption.
Say it twice.
Huh?
We're only supposed to say it twice.
And we say it twice, yeah. We're doing it 6 weeks. And I gave you 4 different explanations for why we say it twice. Okay? One is that I represent the Chassidus. Another one that it involves Kabbalah and Chassidus that are very different about what it means Hashem is a king in this point in the Siddur. And the third is that it has to do with Klippa. The number 2 has to do with division, Klippa. And the 4th is that it has to do with Tshuva. This is our topic today. That Hashem, we say Hashem Melech twice, do with Tshuva. In other words, and to use a cliché from the Gemara, you have a whole sugya, Masechta Bava Metzia, that talks about words that are repeated in the Chumash twice. Like, Shiluach HaKan, Shaleach te Shalach HaSe'em, Shalach te Shalach HaSe'em, right? Or Hoicheach te Chiech HaSamisecha. Or, I don't want to give examples from the negative, but there's a lot of words in the Torah that are repeated twice. Ha'azev, ta'azev, right? So the whole Gemara, which goes through every single pasuk in the Chumash, where it's repeated twice, and asks why is it said twice. So one guy says it's dibur Torah k'lashon, the other it's just poetry. And the other guy says that any time it's repeated twice, it's saying afilu mea pa'amim. When the Torah says twice, azev ta'azev, hashev teshivim, hoicheach techiach, it doesn't mean twice. It means over and over again. If it says once, you do it one time, and you're yotzeh. A guy is doing an Aveda, and you are in a position to stop him in a way which is halacha appropriate, you have to give him Musar. Of course, you have to do Musar with the rules of Musar, not let it embarrass him, and you have to first teach him B'dat Yinei, all the rules of Eichacha, but if he doesn't listen, you give him Musar once, he doesn't listen to him twice, 3 times, 4 times, when do you finish? It's when he hits you. As long as he didn't punch you in the nose, you have to repeat it. So there's a concept in Torah that 2 times doesn't mean 2 times. 2 times means ad infinitum, over and over and over and over again. And one of the examples which is brought is Shabbos. The Chazal say, Kol iska de Shabbata kofel. Everything about Shabbos is double. So you have Lechem Mishnah on Shabbos, and there's Friday night, and everything is double. That's the Gemara. When Yidden will keep 2 Shabbos, Mashiach will come. And there's another Gemara. If Yidden will keep 1 Shabbos, Mashiach will come. So Chassidus asks the question, which is it? The Yerushalmi says 1 Shabbos. The Babli says 2 Shabbos. Which is it? And the Rebbe's answer is it's 1 Shabbos, but every Shabbos has 2 Shabbos in it. But 2 doesn't mean 2. 2 means more deeper and deeper and deeper. It never finishes. Huh? Okay, so you have to send an email to the Yerushalmi with the taine.
Yeah.
The Yerushalmi checks his mail. He just ignores it. The Babli doesn't check the mail. He reads the mail quickly and says, okay, let him wait. A minute. One of the things which in Torah is always repeated twice is Geula. Like you have in Pasha Shmeis. Pokeit, Pokadati. The Rebbe has a sikh who spoke about it. Lech Lecha, all the shaylas of Geula are repeated twice. Another thing which is repeated twice is Tshuva. Anything which connected to Tshuva is repeated twice. Because Tshuva doesn't mean 2 times. Tshuva means over and over and over and over again. Ad infinitum, never finishes. And that's how I'm explaining Hashem Melech. You know why I say Hashem Melech twice? Because we're saying Hashem Melech not only as Hashem is our king and we are his subjects, the way we are tzaddikim, we're saying Hashem Melech also the way we are by the Tshuva. And you have to understand that. If you're good at it, right? If you're a Chassidus Shabbat, if you're good at it, your brain works, your heart works, your body works, and you have self-control. You have Kabbalah sale, you were raised well, so you get up on time and you learn Nigla and you learn Chassidus, and somehow you curb your dog, you keep your Yetzer Hara at bay, and you're mamish the real deal. You know what I'm saying? You're mamish the real deal. Then why wouldn't you be, if you're good at it, why not be a Chassidus Shabbat? Yeah? What if you can't be a Chassidus Shabbat? You can't get up in the morning. When you sit down to learn, the words start to dance, you don't understand Hebrew, you just don't know what's flying. And even after you listen to the shir and you listen to the tape, you're still not clear of Pshat. And above all else, you're learning Torah and your mamish don't even know what's the point of it. Why am I learning this? This is immaterial, it's irrelevant, it's not going to help me. Not Begashmi, it's not Beruchni, it's exotic, it's so irrelevant to my practical life, yeah? And mitzvahs are hard for you, and the Yetzer Hara is burning at you to do this and 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 this. Why should you do it? If it goes, if the learning learns, the davening, then the Yetzer Hara is kept at bay, and you would go to Fabringens, and you get inspired, and you go on Mivtzoyim, and you get married, and you go on Shlichus, and you go down the path that you're supposed to, Lebedik and Freilach, it's good. Yeah? So of course, I told you this many times. I have a former student who I just now saw the other night, who told me 30 years ago, he said, Rabbi, you and me are exactly the same. He said in front of my whole class. I said, what do you mean? He says, you teach Chassidus because you're good at it. I lift weights because I'm good at it. No different than me and you. In other words, if you were good at lifting weights, would you teach Chassidus? If I was good at teaching Chassidus, would I be lifting weights? So exactly who's the Baal Chassidus Nefesh here? Who's the one who's really making a sacrifice? You know what the answer is? The one who's not good at it and does it anyway. That's the concept of a Baal Tshuva. The concept of Baal Tshuva that Rambam writes also in yesterday's Rambam, the concept of Baal Tshuva is the person who's walking around, he doesn't even like himself. He's a shafal barach, he's humble. People put him down, he takes it. People remind him of his old Avedas and he takes it. And he does it. Why is he doing it? Why is he doing it? That's emes. That's emes. Mela the tzaddik. Of course. It's his life. But the Baal Tshuva, and there's different kinds of Baal Tshuva. A real Baal Tshuva means he does Tshuva, never sins again. The revolving door about tshuva, that's the one we know. You do tshuva between Avedas. It's like being on a diet between meals and snacks. I'm not trying to discredit the tshuva. I'm trying to celebrate the never quitting. The Alter Rebbe says in the Likutei Torah that there's 1,000 answers to the question why the Eibishter created the world. But the real one is, the Eibishter created the world for Balei Tshuva. The Eibishter created the world for Balei Tshuva. And you know what Tshuva means? The people don't do it well and do it anyway. And the truth of the matter is, that's our whole generation. We are a generation of Balei Tshuva. We don't think we're very Chassidish from them, we're not. But we don't quit. And to the Eibishter, that means everything. If you're bad at it, you do it anyway. There's something very special about it. Not that you should be mahadid and being bad, you understand? But you should be mahadid and not quitting. I tell this to people all the time. If you look at the nusach of Baruch Sha'omar from 1,000 years ago, the words Baruch Pedo Matzel are missing, almost in all the nuschos. Baruch Pedo Matzel, Baruch Shmei. You know what Baruch Pedo Matzel goes on? Baruch Pedo Matzel goes on the Baal Tshuva. 1,000 years ago, he wasn't even in the siddur. Why? If you're not a tzaddik, what kind of Jew are you? If you're not a tzaddik, why would you be a Jew? We live in an age of Balei Tshuva. What's a Baal Tshuva mean? A Baal Tshuva means a person who was not from, that became from, right? But a Baal Tshuva means a person who struggles to be from, but doesn't quit. Sticks around. And eventually he grows up. And he starts to do it with a lebedekite, and he stops listening to his Yetzer Hara, and he actually starts doing that terrible word called iskafia. Iskafia is the dirtiest word in the Lubavitch. Until you stop hearing it from your mashpiyim, and you start hearing it from your own mouth, and all of a sudden it becomes the biggest mitzvah. Mamish. You start to work, to daven, to learn, to be frumet, to be erlich. You know how much nachas ruch the Eibishter gets from that? The Alter Rebbe says in the Likutei Torah, the Eibishter made the world for tshuva. For the people do it good meile. It's the people who every day don't want to do it and do it anyway. And that's why it says Hashem Melech twice. There's Hashem Melech and a tzaddik. And there's Hashem Melech and the Baal Tshuva. But twice doesn't mean twice. Twice means it has no limit. Over and over and over again. And the over and over and over again is, you make a mistake and you correct it. You make a mistake and you correct it. But throughout, Rabbi said, here's the key. Throughout, Hashem is my king. You know what it means is my king? What it means is my king. Does anybody know the answer to that question? That it's willful. That it's willful. The Eibush is my king is predicated on the Ratzon. He has chosen me to be his subject, and I have chosen him to be my king. And my relationship with the Eibush is enforced. My relationship with the Eibush is willful. It's a Ratzon. That's the key. The Tshuva's relationship with the Eibush, he's my king. You know the story with David Chase, Olav HaShalom. It's a beautiful story. It's mamish very interesting. Gishmak Maiseh. It's mamish a Gishmak Maiseh. Ubahagdoma. I know this is terrible. I saw the gem video that was done by Shlomo Schwartz, Olav HaShalom. Shlomo from Los Angeles. Shlomo Schwartz. He's gone a few years. Schwartzy. But the gem shows you 5 or 6 minutes of the video. The video is 4 hours long. And I got to see parts of that video. And Shlomo tells a story with the Rebbe and a guy whose name is escaping me at the moment. He was a famous opera singer, came very close to Lubavitch. He used to sing at all Lubavitch events. I guess since I know him. Jan Pierce. And you have a book walking around the Beis Medrash called 4 Relationships. I don't know what it's called. 4 Connections to the Rebbe. David Zaklakovsky, who's published many Sfarim, wrote a book called 4 Letters, I think it's called. And you have a whole section on Jan Pierce. Jan Pierce's mother was frum. He wasn't frum. And he had a son married to a goy. And it ate him up. So Shlomo Schwartzy was a chassid. He had a relationship with the Rebbe. It was his personal relationship with the Rebbe. He was Bechal. Schwartzy was not a man of bluff at all. He says things the way he sees it. He lived his life the way he wanted to. And he says, the Rebbe is pure truth. You have to watch him say it. The Rebbe is pure truth. The Rebbe doesn't dramatize. The Rebbe doesn't. He just says the truth, but he'll never lie to you. He'll never lie to you, even if the lie is going to cost him. The truth is going to cost him $1 million, and a lie will make. He'll never lie to you. And he tells a story that Jan Pierce was in the Rebbe's room, and he was talking to them about his Goyish grandchildren, and he was going to get them to go to a Jewish Talmud Torah, and they were going to learn about Yiddishkeit. And the Rebbe said to him to his face, "Why are you confusing them? They're not Jewish. Leave them alone." You know how hurtful that was? He was killing himself that he had Goyish Einiklach. And he thought that this was sort of mini redemption, that the Al-Chachik know what Shabbos is and what kosher is. And the Rebbe says, let them be Goyim. They don't have to be Jewish. Let them be Goyim. Did the Rebbe say, let them learn Christianity? I don't know if he said those words, but he would have been very happy if they should learn another religion, the religion to which they belong, and should practice, serve Hashem that way. But why do you have to give them mitzvahs? They're not Yidden. Now the Rebbe knew how hurtful those words were. But the Rebbe wouldn't lie. So the Rebbe told it to him. Then after the Yechidus, the Rebbe, through Rabbi Chadakov, asked people to soften the blow. But the Rebbe wasn't going to lie. The Rebbe was not going to lie. The Rebbe never lied. The Rebbe told the whole truth to everybody. And he said it straight. No emotion. He wasn't angry, he wasn't happy, he wasn't positive. He said the truth the way it was. And when you watch Shlomo speak, Schwartzy, you see, he gets a lot of chayas from being near Emes, the Rebbe Emes. And this is a Hagdom. David Chase was one of the biggest supporters of Lubavitch, maybe in the world. And he came close to Rabbi Moshe Herson when the Lubavitch Yeshiva was still in Newark. And he was mamish a chassid. He wasn't frum, but he loved what the Rebbe was doing. He was really into it. Moshe Herson just passed away, Rabbi Herson. Huh?
I was in Morristown, the campus.
Yeah. Rabbi Herson just passed away, so they published biographies of Rabbi Herson, and they have stories in there where the entire board of Morristown went into the Rebbe's room for a yechidus about the future of the yeshiva, and the Rebbe said what his vision is, and in the middle of the yechidus, David Chase, who was the youngest member of the board, gets up in front of the Rebbe's room, turns around to the rest of the board members in the Rebbe's presence, and he makes a speech. Do you hear what the Rebbe is saying? The Rebbe is saying that we have to start thinking bigger, we have to put our hands deeper into our pockets, on and on, like as if he was the shliach. But in the Rebbe's presence, he was telling them, hello people, there's a whole other level here, you know. So David Chase wasn't from, and I think he also had children married to Goyim, and it was a very sensitive issue with the Rebbe and him. I heard many years ago that he said to somebody that the Rebbe is wrong about this. I don't know if it's true or not, but one of the stories with the Rebbe and David Chase is as follows. He was a very, very rich man, and his children were all in business. When he was still alive, they all had their own businesses, and one of his sons bought a radio station. And the radio station was 7 days a week programming, day and night, 24 hours a day. So he told this to the Rebbe. Mistam asked the Rebbe for a bracha, and the Rebbe immediately got an answer that you're not allowed to have business running on Shabbos. So the radio station has to be closed on Shabbos. But it's not realistic, because you close the radio station on Shabbos, you close the radio station. So there's a heter through a shtar mechira, just like we sell chametz on Pesach, and after Pesach we buy it back, and the chametz is allowed to be eaten, especially according to the Alter Rebbe, that you have out of kabbalah, so it's a real mechira. And other people don't really sell chametz. Outside Lubavitch, they don't sell chametz. They sell pots and pans. They don't sell chametz. They throw all the chametz in the garbage, because they don't hold that the mechira is a mechira gemura. We dafka sell chametz. We go before Pesach and buy a piece of bread, put it in the freezer, and after Pesach take it out and eat it, because the Alter Rebbe added to the mechira what's called an of kabbalah, which makes it a mechira gemura, right? So it's a real sale, even though the guy pays 10 cents, 5 cents on the dollar, a penny on the dollar, because he's putting down a down payment, and after Pesach you buy it back, and it's kosher. So there's an eitzah for Shabbos. You basically get a goyish partner, and it's not a real partner, but it's halachically a partner. And Shabbos, the business is his, and then of course you profit from Shabbos. You have to figure out what to do with those profits, but there's ways around it. So the Rebbe sent a message to this young man, Mr. David Chase's son, that he has to sell his business on Shabbos. He said, well, I drive in a car on Shabbos. I go into a treifa restaurant. Don't tell me about selling my business on Shabbos. It was so shalei b'dara de una to use. You guys are learning day to day. Oh, you don't learn treifas anymore. Yeah, it was so out of line. I have to. I travel to my business every Shabbos. I got a subway station, but the Rebbe wouldn't back off. And of course, the Rebbe's position was one Aveda doesn't justify another Aveda. You drive your car, that's one thing. But the business has to be closed on Shabbos. And it became mamish an impasse. The Rebbe wouldn't back out. Now, Rabbi Hurston is a big chassid of the Rebbe's, yeah? But Rabbi Hurston also has to pay the bills in Morristown. And if David Chase is dissed by the Rebbe, it's going to cost him millions. And how are you supposed to feel? The Rebbe's pushing your guy, who's not ashamed of Shabbos, to sell his business on Shabbos, and he's getting him upset. And Rabbi Hurston's thinking, really, Rebbe? But you can't tell the Rebbe what to do, man. He does whatever he wants. And the Rebbe didn't back off. He kept on reminding him, sell the business on Shabbos. And it wasn't even David Chase, it was his son. And the guy was saying, I don't want to be a hypocrite. You know, Americans, I don't keep Shabbos. Who am I kidding? And the Rebbe says, not keeping Shabbos is one thing, but you're not allowed to have this business on Shabbos. Anyway, it got so bad that the only conversation that the Rebbe was having with Mr. David Chase through Moshe Hurston was about this. Then Rosh Hashanah comes, and Yom Kippur comes, and the Rebbe gives lekach. The Rabbi Hurston was very close to Mr. David Chase. Right before Yom Kippur, the Rebbe calls Rabbi Avraham Shem Tov, Davis, and he gives him lekach. And says, I want you to bring the lekach to David Chase. And explain to him that normally I would give you lekach through Rabbi Hurston. But now I'm giving you lekach through somebody else. Because I need you to know that the fight we're having about Shabbos has nothing to do with the sweet lekach. The sweet lekach is just as sweet. And the bracha for the sweet year is just as sweet. We have an issue. But one doesn't touch the other. So I'm giving it to a different shliach. So the lekach, you should know, the honey cake is unconditional, but I'm not backing off on the Shabbos issue. It got so bad that David Chase called up Rabbi Hurston and he says, I think I made a mistake. I got too close to this Rebbe. I'm not that person. I'm backing off. And that's exactly what Rabbi Hurston did not want to hear, you understand? Because this meant that the checks are going to get smaller. I'm too close. I'm not what the Rebbe wants me to be, and I can't be this close to the Rebbe and be so disappointing to the Rebbe and be so disappointed with myself. I'm backing away. And a little while later, I don't know if it was a day or a week, he called Rabbi Hurston the second time, and he says to Rabbi Hurston, I thought it over. A child who makes trouble is still a child. A son of the child. And he said, I'm not backing away. The Rebbe didn't, they must have sold the radio on Shabbos because the Rebbe didn't back off. But he went through this process of saying to himself, I got to get away from this Rebbe. I love him, but I'm not what he wants from me. I can't deliver. I got to. Then he says, no, I'll stay close and I'll deal with the consequences. That's Hashem Melech of the Baal Tshuva. Hashem is my king. And the foundation of kingship is Ratzon. We accept the Eibish's kingship willfully. And what's willfully? I make a mistake. He's my king. I never walk away. And the Hashem Melech twice. The first one is the Hashem Melech of the Tzaddik. The guy who does it good. So what's the big deal? He does it well. Why shouldn't he do it? And the second Hashem Melech is the Hashem Melech of the Baal Tshuva. You don't quit. Now, I was supposed to teach you the Pirush Hamilas today.